This is Earth Movers
with Allison Mariella Desir, Stephanie Flippin, and Verna Nesbegay Volker.
A trail podcast reclaiming the narrative.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Earth Movers, a trail podcast reclaiming the narrative. I'm Allison Mariella Desir, one of the co-hosts, and I'm so excited to be talking to Phoebe Robinson. She is a genius. She interweaves racism, misogyny, personal experiences, and humor, and I can't wait to chat with her. But first, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Ultra. They have supported us for 2 seasons now. I'm actually running the LA Half Marathon next week in the Women's Experience Flow 3. Love the shoe. For more, check out Ultra at ultrarunning.com. One other quick announcement is if you haven't heard, we are on Substack. You can find all our writing on earthmoverspodcast.substack.com. Okay, now back to Phoebe. Hi, Phoebe.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. Let me read your incredible bio because folks need to know. Phoebe Robinson is a stand-up comedian, best-selling author, producer, actress, and publisher. Her second stand-up special, I Don't Want to Work Anymore, premiered October 7th, 2025, exclusively on YouTube. Phoebe is the author of the essay collections You Can't Touch My Hair, Everything's Trash, But It's Okay, and Please Don't Sit on My Bed in Your Outside Clothes. And in 2020, she launched her own imprint, Tiny Reparations Books. Robinson is also the co-creator and co-star of the podcast Two Dope Queens, an HBO series of the same name. Other on-screen work includes the TV adaptation of Everything's Trash and the stand-up special Sorry, Harriet Tubman, both of which are produced by her company, Tiny Reparations. She is the recipient of Variety's Comedy Innovator for her work and continued contribution in comedy. Wow, how are you today, Phoebe?
I'm good. I'm in Brooklyn. I'm working on my next book. So yeah, things are good.
Amazing. Yeah. Just reading your bio cracks me up because you have a way of tapping into the culture and critique in a way that's so unique. Would you say that came natural for you? Is this something that you built up over time?
Yeah, I think like with anything, the more you do something, you kind of hone in on what your voice is and how you can sort of distill what you're thinking and the areas of focus that you want to talk about, whether it's religion, politics, pop culture, what have you, into something that sounds most like yourself. I've been doing stand-up since 2008. And I've been a writer for a long time. That's what I studied when I went to college. I used to write short stories as a kid. So I feel like sort of having a comedic lens through which I can talk about things that are serious or not so serious has just kind of been something that I think, intentionally crafted and I think works pretty well for me.
When did you know that you wanted to be a comedian? Because it's something, I'm first generation American, and that was not even on the list of possibilities for me. So I'm wondering, when did you learn about this and when did you know it's something you wanted to pursue?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I certainly didn't grow up wanting to be a stand-up comic. I sure would watch stand-up specials here and there and I don't know, go to comedy clubs. Like I saw Dane Cook at Caroline's. I know, he's like not the best, but I was like, I don't know, I was in like very post-college, so it's just sort of like you like what you like. And I just took the class with a friend named Lindsay because she didn't want to take it by herself. So I was like, all right, this will just be like, I guess, a fun way to just like waste 8 weeks, doing something fun with my friend. And then I ended up just really liking it. I just thought it was so fun. And, we saw Daryl Hammond, who was on SNL. That was like our first class. And so we went and saw him do a show at Caroline's. I was like, oh, this looks so cool. And then our first assignment was to come up with some jokes. And then we were all just like meet up in a room, with this sort of goal that at the end of the 8 weeks, we would have a 5-minute set that we could perform in front of our friends and families, which at the time, 5 minutes on stage being funny felt like so much.
Yes.
And I really took to it. And, I think my parents have always just been people who were just very much like, as long as you are happy doing what you're doing and you're not breaking the law and you're not, losing your soul in the process, like, we're, going to be supportive of what you want to do. But it definitely was like, they weren't like funding my life while I'm living in New York and doing stand up. Like, I had day jobs and did all these things while I was hustling to become a comic. So I think, when was this? This was like 23. I was 23 going on 24. So I feel as though it was like the nicest happy accident. Like, I don't think I would have ever pursued comedy, even though probably deep down I wanted to be a performer of some kind, but I don't think I would have pursued it if Lindsay hadn't been like, hey, let's take this class together.
Oh, wow. Does
Yeah.
Lindsay knows that she helped birth this in you?
Yeah. I mean, she works in publishing now, which is great. She's an editor. Yeah, it just really, life just has a way of just really making things work out.
So who are some of your favorite comics? You mentioned a few that you took classes with or saw. Who do you love listening to?
Oh, I mean, I love Wanda Sykes, Tig Notaro. I think Ali Wong is great. Roy Wood Jr. is great. I really loved Patrice O'Neill. Chris Rock, obviously. Carlin. There's just like a lot of people are just so phenomenal. And everyone has like a specific point of view and a way of performing that, you could just really learn from anybody when you're starting out, you're just kind of like mimicking a little bit like who you've heard, and until you find your own voice. So it's just really, you can see all the things that these different comics do that make them so particularly successful at what they do. Yeah.
I'm thinking about how political your messages are, and I'm thinking particularly about your Instagram posts, which like I die every day that I look at them.
Thank you.
And the one, I mean, you said this a few times in February, but you're gonna slap a white person, like anybody. I'm wondering about the process. How do you come up with this material? Because it seems like it's happening on the fly, but I imagine there's thought and planning.
Yeah, I mean, it really is something that I try to have it be as low lift as possible. And I wasn't even trying to do this. I forget, I like done a thing, and I came home and I was like dolled up and I had like a wig on, and then Andrew Cuomo said he was doing some interview. I think it was like on some cable news outlet, and he was just sort of talking about like how he won't even be alone in a room with a woman just because, he doesn't want to be accused of, and acting as though like women are the problem, not the fact that he's a sexual predator. And I just sort of like ranted very quickly about it, and threw it up on my Instagram. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, oh, how do I get like the overlay so I can like react to it? So I like couldn't like, and so once I figured it out, then I just like posted it. And then I sort of like went about like the rest of my night, and I just was like, oh, people are commenting and whatever and seem to be enjoying it. And then someone was like, oh, I would totally like watch you just like scream at people every day. And I was like, oh, I like to complain, so I can easily do that. And then it's really just become this super fun thing where I comment on whatever I feel is in the zeitgeist and is, I don't know, frustrating or funny or interesting. And, I try to, there are a couple ones where I did sort of like jot down a few thoughts because I wanted to make sure I got everything in there that I wanted to get in there, because with Reels, if it's over 3 minutes, then they won't push it out to people who aren't your followers. And so I was like, oh, I want this to reach the most amount of people. And also I feel like sometimes when Reels are so long, people are like, I don't care anymore. And so my process is I'll like clip out whatever I need. I'll do like my, just a video of me, like sort of like my face watching and reacting. And then I'll go, okay, so I got like 2 minutes and 20 seconds to say whatever I need to say. And then I'll think of like, what in the blah, 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 blah. Like I'll think of like what that is. And maybe like, I'll have like, oh, maybe I'll talk about this or that. And then I just kind of like go. And then those lucky days where it's like the first take is like all I need, it's great. But sometimes this happens more often than not. Like I talk too long. So I have to go back and like I have to just like reshoot it a few times so I can get it under time. But yeah, I really do try to just like riff, and because I think that it helps as a stand-up comic, it just helps you if you're just able to just kind of like think of funny stuff without it having to be so hard to be funny. I think it just makes you stronger as a comedian. And it makes it easier when I do write stand-up to just like come up with bits and jokes because I'm in a place where I just am like, yeah, be funny, follow this rhythm, follow this beat. So it's been like really fun, and I have irritated a couple of people based
Just
on what
a
I
couple?
said. Yeah, just a couple. Like I would say there were a couple of people who reached out to me. One I ignored, one I engaged with, and I think that's fine. Like I'm not worried about upsetting someone because I feel like if I'm going to post these videos, I'm going to stand by what I say. And that's not to say like I'm going to be like an asshole about it. But I think often people like say whatever, then they'll be like, oh, I was misquoted or this was taken out of context as a way to sort of like sidestep responsibility. And it's like, no, that's really like how you felt. So then you have to stand by that and honor that. And the other thing is there are so many things I don't speak about if I don't feel like I'm knowledgeable enough about something, I won't comment. Like, I think everyone thinks like, oh, I have to have an opinion about everything. It's like, no, you don't. Sometimes you just like sit and listen and learn. And I'm sure at some point I'll step in and I'll have to like sort of course correct and be like, oh yeah, you guys are correcting and calling me out. But I think because I try to come from a place of being honest about how I feel without being reckless, I think so far, knock on wood, I'm in a good spot with how it's going. But I think that sometimes, I could say something that will trigger people. Sort of like with the thing that I posted yesterday about the Harry Styles Brit Awards, which, I truly was like, I knew as I posted, I was like, this is gonna upset white women in particular. Like I just knew. And the people who have been sort of like the most outspoken have been the white women on my feed. And, I think me sort of kind of just, I don't think I'm saying anything controversial by saying that this man is not the pinnacle of artistry and showmanship. Like I don't like that is to me, there's nothing controversial in that. But I think because we live in a world where if a white person is doing something, no matter how mediocre it is, it becomes the standard, and to call that out. And I think sometimes my white female followers, like, this is what I've noticed. Like, oh, they love when I drag a white man. They're like, yes, girl, yeah. Like, they like that. But if it comes back to, like, let's investigate why are we sort of exalting this person when if they were a different shade, you guys would not have time for this person. Or you guys would say this person is not talented. And it just was like, it pissed some of them off. And they were just like, Beyonce, it's like, okay, but like Harry can sing. And I'm like, in what world other than the delusion of white supremacy would you ever say that Harry Styles is a better vocalist than Beyonce?
Yeah, wild.
It's just like, he's not. And that's okay. He doesn't have to be. Like, he seems like a nice guy and he's talented and he's built a great career for ourselves. But this instinct and this need to just act like, whiteness is the standard bearer. I'm like, you guys have to investigate that. I don't. You do. Because for you to say this guy is the best and he's Bowie is fucking ridiculous.
Yes.
Like, I was seeing that so much. I was like, have you guys listened to Bowie? Like, how could you even, it was just very interesting to me. This one woman, she was like, Beyonce sings okay. And to be honest, she just married the right guy. And I go, this right here. And I kept the comment hidden because I was like, we don't need the infighting, but I go, this is why a lot of Black women find it difficult of everyone to trust white women, because it's always, it's like the second I say one little thing, the truth comes out. You think that Beyonce has no talent, has not earned her career, she just married some guy.
Right.
You're going to erase her entire 30 plus year career and say it's because she married a man?
Right. They end up telling on themselves.
Yeah. And so I just was like, why? I know why, but I'm like, I want people to investigate why it bothers them if a Black person is excellent when that has been what the white patriarchy has demanded of Black people in order to obtain success. And I think this is very long-winded.
No,
Sorry,
I love it. Keep going.
But I was reading this thing, which I think is actually true, in that, like, for instance, like when we were growing up, we really liked people who were more talented than us. So we would be like, oh, wow, like Whitney Houston is like one of one. She is amazing. I want to aspire to be like her. So you would hear like all these artists like Christina Aguilera, all these people like, I want to be like Whitney Houston. And of course, they're not going to get to that level. They're not going to be like Aretha Franklin because they're one of one. And now we live in a culture in which people aspire towards relatability. So, and when I was saying like he's an average performer, I'm not saying that as a derogatory. I'm saying that statistically, most people are average. There is no extraordinary without the average. So it's not to say that it's not a pejorative. It's like you don't have Prince as the exception if there aren't a bunch of Harry Styles as the rule. Otherwise, Prince is not exceptional if everyone is at his level, right? And so like a lot of people, in order for them to make peace with their averageness, they look towards other people in the zeitgeist who are average in some other way so they can go, well, I could be that. I see myself in that. It's very hard to see yourself in BB King.
Right.
You can't, because you're not him, you know?
Right.
And so I think that like people don't want to accept sort of the notion that there's a level of averageness in them. Because that feels like an attack. And I'm like, just embrace it. You know, and I think you would be happier. And I think you would move through your life differently and in a less sort of like defenses up sort of way if you kind of just accepted that, like, you know, I'm not going to be the greatest of all time at something. That's fine. That's totally fine. But I think that people struggle with that. And so when you attack sort of their idols who sort of represent that, it feels like you're attacking them.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not attacking anybody. I'm just saying the truth. He's average. Taylor Swift is average. Most of the artists out are average. That's fine.
Yes. But damn, Phoebe, that was like a sermon.
I was just like, blah, blah, blah. Sorry. But
no, that for everybody listening, that was exceptional. That was one of one.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, everything that you're saying, I know that you're saying, and I'm believing that it's authentic and it's honest, so it doesn't feel, you don't use these words, it doesn't feel dangerous. But in this political climate, everything that you're saying feels like it could be dangerous. And so I'm wondering, is there any part of you that fears your truth?
No, because I just think we're at a very interesting inflection point nationally and globally. And you know, I think for a while they're like, let's everyone have their brand and influencers and everything's just kind of surface level. And we solved racism because we elected Obama. it's just this sort of fantasy bubble that clearly was not true. And when it burst upon the election of Trump the first time around, people were sort of like, I can't believe, like, oh, what is happening? I'm like, this has always been America. This has always been America. All you have to do is go to the library, look up videos of America in 1960s and like see a Black person move into a predominantly white neighborhood. The vitriol has always been there. So
That's
for
wild.
me, I feel as though what's actually dangerous is that we, I use the royal we, but I also do think that I will include myself in this, like after, Obama was elected, there was a sense of like rightfully so, this is an achievement. Like we're not going to pretend like this is not an achievement.
Right.
But I think we were lulled into a false sense of security that like that very, like the Jim Crow past and like all the, sort of loud macro aggressions were like we slayed the dragon, right? And the reality is we didn't, sadly. And it only invigorated the people who were already racist and fascist to be like, we have to hunker down while we were like doing our victory dance and just like loving life, and just like Black Eyed Peas on repeat, just feeling like, they were getting to work. And so I think what I'm noticing and now, and I think part of the reason why people are enjoying what I'm doing is that I'm not coming from a place of like, oh, is this good for my brand? Is this going to get me a deal? Is this going to get me more fun? Like, I don't, I'm like, not everybody needs to have a brand. We cannot be driven by money because we see where this is getting us. That is the true danger. If like we're going to stay driven by like capitalism and achieving, I'm like, we are going to be in an even bigger mess than we already are. And I think a lot of people are sort of coming out of that like hustle culture and like keeping the peace, because it's just not keeping the peace. Is not there's no peace that's been kept. So for me, I just go, do I think me being outspoken will probably at some point cause me to like not get cast in a movie or a TV show? Yeah, but also, who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? This country is a fucking mess. And I'm going to worry if I'm going to get cast in a 10-episode TV show. Like, the priorities can't be at that place anymore,
Yeah, you're speaking to me personally. I'm taking this all very personally. Okay, I want to shift gears a little bit to Tiny Reparations Books, which just celebrated 5 years. Yes. Can you tell me a bit about the story behind the imprint and maybe some of your proudest moments?
Yeah, I think so I met my lit agent, Robert Ginsler, like December 2015. He had emailed me because he saw my name on some like, those like, top comics around New York, like those like fun lists where you're like, oh, that's nice to be mentioned. And he just cold emailed me. He was like, you're probably already working on a book, but if you're not, I would love to meet and see if you have any ideas, which was really happy. I was really happy about that because I had started my blog, Balaria, which stood for Black Daria, because I wanted to get a book deal. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but if I just like kind of write, blog like 4 or 5 times a week, something will happen. So I kind of like manifested this, and then we met and I told him about, I was like, I have this idea for his essay collection called You Can't Touch My Hair and Other Things I Have to Explain. And he was like, oh, that's such a fun title. And I was like, yeah, I'm a titles girl. I really like to have a title. And I was sort of like telling him about that. And we're having like such a good lunch. And he was just like he could just sense that I wasn't like, oh, I just want to write one book and be done. He could tell that like I wanted more. And so he was like, what is like, like the end goal for you? Like, what's the big picture? And I was like, well, I really love Toni Morrison, and I love that she, used her platform to edit other people's books and really like provide opportunity for authors who probably would not have been published without her help. And I was like, but that sounds like too much work. So I think I would just rather have like an imprint instead. And he laughed because that's like way more work.
Yeah.
But I had no idea. I was just like, I love books and I love to read. This will be cool. And don't even get me started on the Toni Morrison New York Times podcast, which I couldn't even finish. It pissed me off so much. Just because I feel like I say, don't get me started, but this is like super.
Here we go.
Super quick, just super quick aside, because I got like 20 minutes into it and I turned it off because I was like, I don't understand the crux of this argument. I was like, what? You're mad that Toni Morrison is being revered, or you feel like people like her too much, or that she's in the pantheon of other. It was just like, what? Is it because she's a Black woman you don't want that to be? Why are there no Black women involved in this conversation? And no one's turning her into a saint. I do not believe that is what is happening.
Right.
It just felt so bizarre to me that we're having that conversation over someone who is, again, one of one and categorically undeniable. And I do not think if she were a white male author, so soon after his death, this conversation would be happening.
Right.
You guys would be celebrating him instead of being like, I don't know. I feel like you guys are liking her too much. What fucking bullshit is that?
Yeah.
She could write all of you under the table. You have the audacity to worry that her legacy is too big. Please. Like, please. Maybe I'll do a rant about that today. Just keep her name out your mouth. Yeah, so basically I just, like a lot of people in publishing, like Toni was just sort of the blueprint for me. And coming out of selling the first book and how much pushback I got and how many flat out no's where, people, again, this was 2015 or 2015. I met Robert in 2014. 2015, we tried to sell it. And people were just like, no one is going to buy a funny book written by a Black woman. Black female authors don't sell. This is 2015. And all these people were saying, no. And it was all under the guise of this sort of like, air quote excuse. And only one publisher wanted to work with me and got my vision, which is like, fine. I'm happy with that. But I just was like, I always kept that in the back of my mind. And, when I was starting up the imprint during COVID, and I was kind of like, oh, I don't know if this is like the right time. And Robert was like, everyone's turning to books right now. This is the right time. And this is your dream. Like, let's go for it. I just was like, you know what? You're right. And I just don't want anyone to get rejected based on who they are. Like, that's not a reason to reject someone's work. And so with Tiny Reparations, I just wanted this to be like a platform where we can publish authors from all kinds of backgrounds who have amazing stories to tell. And I'm so proud of the books that we publish. It's like poetry, fiction, nonfiction, Marsha P. Johnson biography, just like so many fantastic things. And I just think the space is necessary. And I'm very proud to be a small part of hopefully, being a positive influence. And I just, I'm so proud of where we've come, because when we started, the sheer volume of just, hey, do you want to publish this slavery narrative? We have a book about enslaved people. It was just, that was all we were being inundated with. And I said, you guys, we're saying no to all of it. All of it. And that we're going to get fewer submissions. That's fine. But I'm like, I am not starting this. I am not starting this where you guys think the only thing that we're going to publish is traumatic. I'm like, you don't think Black people fall in love? You don't think gay people have jobs? Like, what are we doing? It's I'm like, hello, what is going on? And so I really just was like, I'm not going to publish anything like this. And I'm glad that I did that, because now it's like we're getting like, you know, like some romance stuff, and we're getting like thrillers, and we're getting, you know, like historical figure, like all this stuff that I'm like, yes, the whole, you know, the gamut of publishing, like we're getting all kinds of genres in. And I think that is because I was very adamant about like, we are not going to be the trauma in print. Yeah.
You have me crying. Like, you don't think gay people have jobs?
It's like, do we, like, what is going on? It's so bizarre how people think that, and I never use the word minority, because I think it is, we are not the minority. We're actually the global majority. But it's so interesting how people think that if you are not the sort of default, that your life just sort of circles or orbits just sadness. It's like, we have fun, we go on vacations, we have work, we have petty grievances, we hang out with family, we play sports, like we do all these things, and our existence is sort of reduced to like, well, it must be hard to be you. And I'm like, yeah, sometimes it is, but most of the time it's not. That's not my life.
Yeah. Yes, everybody needs to hear that message. I'm going to give a shout out to our sponsor right now. Again, Ultra. Amazing shoes. I am going to be wearing my Flow 3s this weekend. Check Ultra out at ultrarunning.com. And it's the perfect segue, because I hear that Phoebe is a runner. She's run 5 marathons. It sounds like you might be going after the majors. I want to hear a little bit about your running journey.
Yeah, I'm training for London. I'm definitely feeling a little burnout. So I think this might be the only marathon I run this year. But I started running in 2023. Like, I tried in the past several times. I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I didn't even have running shoes. I just threw on like old gym shoes. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll just go outside and run. And then, you know, I have like shin splints, or I'm like, oh, this is trash. This sucks. And so I just was like, oh, let me just give it a go, after I had broken up with my boyfriend, like, you know, months and months before. And I just like had fun with this. I was like, oh, I'm writing about this, but I think I'm a person who I really do like to learn. So I like to, even though sometimes it'd be like, you know, uncomfortable and sticky to be at sort of like the novice beginner stage. I think I kind of like that.
Me too.
Yeah, it's like fun. And you like figure things out, and you buy all these contraptions you think you need for running, and then you don't need them. And you're like, oh, this is cool. And like, you could see the progress happening. You can't always see it day to day, but then like, there'll just be one day where you have like a great run. You'll be like, oh, my lung capacity was like flawless for that run. And so I was just like, yeah, I'll just do like 5Ks and 10Ks. Like, that was like kind of like where I was at. And then I ended up running the Boston Marathon for Red, which I'm on the board of. It's a nonprofit started by Bobby Shriver and Bono.
I want to get to the Bono piece in a little bit.
He's a sweetie and a half. And I just was like, because people are like, oh, you're going to want to run a marathon. I was like, I don't really have any interest in doing that. And I was like, the only way I would do it would be for charity, you know, because then it's not really like about me. And so I like reached out to Red, and they were like, oh, we were just going to email you to ask you if you want to do this. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I don't know, I found like a training plan online, and I was like, all right, we're just going to figure this out. And it was just so fun. And of course the marathon itself was hard, but I maybe like mile 8 in or something, I was like, oh, I could totally do another one of these. Like, this is fun. This is really fun. And so I've run 5 marathons. London's going to be my 6th. So I've just kind of almost been like in marathon training mode since like 2023, except for like maybe a month off here, a month off there. And I think I'm in a place where my head and body are just sort of like, let's take a breather from it. But I just love running, and I like running marathons in particular, like half marathons I don't really enjoy. I always go like, I don't know why, I just don't like them. But like with the full, I'm just like, it's always like a cool challenge. It's a great way to see a city. It is, I don't care how fit you are, 26.2 miles is just, it's going to test you.
Yeah.
Which I think is like cool, because like certain things you can sort of be like, oh yeah, I've sort of like got the hang of this and I could do it, and it's like whatever. But it's like, no matter who you are, if you run a marathon, you're going to go through it. You're going to hit that wall. You're going to have the like, oh my God, like, oh, can I do this? It's mile 20, shit. You're just going to have those moments. And I like coming through the other side of that, I think. Yeah.
I love that. I'm going to give a shameless plug. I wrote a book called Running While Black that I am going to send to you.
Yay!
It's about my own story of finding running, and similarly broken up with somebody. My father was very sick and I found running, but I also tell the history of the sport, unknown history of the sport, how Black people, of course, we built the sport, right? And many people don't know Ted Corbett, Marilyn Bevins, New York Pioneer Club. So that's coming your way soon.
Oh my God, I can't wait to read it. That sounds amazing. Yeah. Because it is such a, the way that it's framed, it's such a like white dominant sport. Yeah.
Meanwhile, we did the work.
Yeah.
Well, I want to ask first about trail running. Have you ever considered trail running?
Girl, I don't have time to be looking down and seeing if I'm about to trip over sticks. I really, no. Running is hard enough. I do not have time.
I'm going to check back with you in a few years, because all of this builds on each other, right? Like then you're going to be doing triathlons, and so it's coming.
Okay.
I heard that you're Bono's Black best friend. Tell me more.
He's the best. He's truly the best. Let me take this off of Do Not Disturb so you can just see this cute little picture of him and I. When I moderated his
oh, you too.
I know. He's so cute. He's so cute. Yeah, I have been a lifelong YouTube fan. And, I think I first heard them when I was like, I don't know, 13 or something. And this is a whole other tangent I could go off of, not about them, but I just heard them on the radio. And, which I think is not like the radio itself, but I just think sort of like, because we live in an algorithm world, discovery is kind of gone in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And so I just heard them, I used to love like listening to the radio in my bedroom, just being like, oh, I'm curious. Where are they going to play? I don't know. What songs are they going to play? I'll just like listen for hours. And I heard them and I was like, oh, this just like sounds different. Like I was a very big like Whitney Houston, Moesha, Boyz II Men, love all that stuff. But I do kind of like listen to everything. Like I think I get like the sort of rock stuff from my mom because she loves listening to rock music. And, then I just like went to the library and I just like started checking out their CDs and like reading the lyrics and all that stuff. And I just, would talk about them a lot and listen to the music a lot. And when we did Two Dope Queens, I would like talk about him and Bono and the band on the show. And some people on his team, listened to the podcast and like played clips for him. I don't know what they played, but they were like, oh my God, he thinks you're so funny. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And so him and I ended up meeting at Bonnaroo because Two Dope Queens is out there. And this is the first time U2 is playing there. And it was such a magical meeting. And I was just like, jokes aside, like if there's ever anything I can do or I could be in service of Red, like please, like don't feel like, don't like reach out to me. Like don't like stop yourself from doing that. And so I just like over the years, like I started like just doing stuff, whether it's like hosting like little nightcap events or making like bespoke like merch that people could buy, and proceeds from that would go to Red. And it just really blossomed into this like wonderful relationship. And he's so sweet. He like sends me flowers on my birthday. Like he's always just so kind and lovely. And yeah, it's really like it's a fun relationship to have in my life.
Tell me about Red. What is that nonprofit?
Oh, yeah. So it's actually two things. So one is sort of the policy side. So people are going to, DC and advocating for folks. And then Red is sort of where like us, like regular peeps can come in. Like say this bottle, like this Kelly Clarkson thing, if it was like made by Red, it would be Red. And so you could buy this and then money from this goes towards like funding AIDS medicine and getting all the medicine to the people that need it. And so it's a really, during the time where it was like cash was flowing, it really was a good way for people to feel like, okay, if I'm going to buy some stuff, I can have it be for Red and could be, my way of giving back. And yeah, it's been just such a wonderful, 7, I can't do math. What is it? Oh my God, 9 years of like doing stuff with Red. Yeah. It's been great.
I love that. I mean, I don't have any particular feelings towards Bono, except that if he loves you, I love Bono.
Thank you. He just really, I do think that he's a very like well-read, smart person in a time where people are reading less and less. It makes me sad. I think something I read, I forget the source, but that the average person reads fewer than 4 books a year, which just makes me sad. Because obviously I like love books, but I do think that like not being well read and lacking curiosity and this push for anti-intellectualism is like hurting us in a lot of ways. And so it's to find like-minded people that like want to do good and read a lot. And, I just really appreciate about him. And like, I love the music, and I know like people have their feelings about their music or whatever, but I really do love so many of their albums.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, you're on tour right now. Tell me what people can expect, and also why aren't you coming to Seattle?
So I'm doing a run of like workout shows right now. My intention is to do a proper tour in the fall.
Okay.
So be on the lookout for that. But I always like whenever I'm putting my hours together to like just, it's fine to like run around the city and do 15-minute spots and 20-minute spots, but it's like you really do have to like go do hour-long sets to see like what the flow is and how the narrative is going and like where you could add jokes, where you could trim. And so I'm really enjoying it. I'm going to be April 2nd through the 4th. I'm going to be in Burlington, Vermont. April 17th, I'm going to be at the Dynasty Typewriter in Los Angeles. April 27th and 28th, I will be at the Bill Murray in London. And May 14th through the 16th, I will be at the Port Comedy Club in Baltimore. And in Burlington, I believe it's just the Vermont Comedy Club.
Awesome.
So get your tickets. Their tickets are still available.
Sweet. And I will be standing by for those fall tour dates.
Yay.
All right. So my last question, this is something that we ask all of our guests.
Okay.
The name of our podcast is Earth Movers. And the idea for that was that, me and my 2 co-hosts were trail runners. When you're running, you're literally moving the earth. And our goal is to change the narrative around who belongs in the outdoors, who belongs on this earth. So we ask our guests, what does being an earth mover mean to you?
Oh, yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think being an earth mover, what it means to me is, sure, of course, like you're taking up space and sort of like owning your presence on this earth. But I think it's also like to leave some sort of impact. And I'm not saying that it has to be this major global impact. It could be just community based. Like I think so many things happen that can have such a positive effect that aren't necessarily, it's not going to be in the news. It could be like whether you're a teacher, it could be whether you're a doctor, it could be whether you're a painter, it could be a poet, it could be, I don't know, that person in the community who always like checks in on everybody else in the neighborhood. Like all those like small positive things can add up to a lot. So I just think that like we're in such a social media heavy world where it's all about the presentation of like, well, what are your numbers? What are your followers? What is sort of your influence? Where I'm always like, influencing what? What are you influencing? And we live in such a world where that is like, remains the most important thing. And I think we just need to sort of like take a step back from that and really get small in a way, because I think the small stuff leads to the big stuff. And we're so focused on like the big thing up here, you forget like all the tiny little steps that happen between the big thing happening and the small thing. So I think being an earth mover is sort of just using your life in a way, being useful without being overused. You know what I mean? Like we don't need everyone to sacrifice themselves, but I think like being on this planet, it is good to see what you can do as a person that can help others. Yeah.
You dropped a lot of knowledge on this podcast in such a short amount of time. Phoebe, you are amazing. I'm honored that you chose to be on our show. And I'll be stalking you very diligently to see where you end up.
Thank you. And good luck with the LA Marathon. I've had a couple of friends run that. I haven't run it yet, but I really want to do it. So I can't wait to hear what you have to say about it.
Cool. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, Ultra, for supporting this podcast. New episodes drop every Thursday. We've got merch available. We're on Substack at earthmoverspodcast.substack.com. And we look forward to getting your likes, comments, all the good stuff. We appreciate you.